Hello and welcome to JamHammer. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at all of the contents you get with the 40k 10th edition launch box, Leviathan. You can find timecodes for each section of this unboxing in the description below, as well as links to help support the channel, including affiliates and a subscription one too. So after months of teasers and previews and compulsively checking my email every hour to see when this set would arrive, it's finally here, the Leviathan launch box, the new 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000. And let me tell you, it is massive. I unfortunately got back into Warhammer just after the release of 9th edition, so never managed to get my hands on the Indomitors set, but the Leviathan box here is, by all accounts, even bigger. But does bigger mean better? Let's dive in and see what goodies Games Workshop have provided us with here. If you're anything like me, you've been scouring every single article on Warhammer community for months now, getting the lowdown on every single unit, from the largest Psychophage right down to the measliest Neurogaunt. So there probably won't be any surprises on the back here, where it's outlining the two forces we get in the box, as well as the book, cards and transfers. But here they all are anyway, resplendent in the heavy metal style, with the poster boy Ultramarines facing off against the hordes of High Fleet Leviathan. A whopping 72 miniatures are all crammed within this box somehow, and thank goodness it seems sturdy enough to bear this weight, though it is doing a number on my wrist just turning this thing over. Right, I can't wait any longer, let's crack it open. Inside, we're met with an insert featuring the box art with the half Tyranid, half Terminator, but inverted. Around the edge we have some more examples of the Tyranids painted up, as well as on the side here where there are variant paint schemes. I think I can spot High Fleet Kronos and Behemoth there to name a few. Then the Astartes on the other long edge here, and more variant paint schemes for these, including a few later founding successor chapters like the White Templars and the Flesh Tearers. Pulling that insert aside and we're met with a lot of plastic. There are so many sprues here that I can't see the bottom of the box at all. It is just packed with goodness. So let's start by going over the first row of sprues. And it looks like Tyranids are on top here, with this large one containing a lot of beefy limbs, claws and carapaces, which look to be parts for making the Screamer Killer, as well as the Neurotyrant. Pulling out the one just next to it, and this looks to be everything needed to make the Psychophage, with a lot of the detail, vents and feeding tendrils already included on two large parts which make up the majority of the body. On the opposite side, we can see the pins that will make this an easy to assemble miniature that just slots together. Putting the sprue aside now, and we have our first Astartes one. This is a large sprue for the Ballistus Dreadnaught, made up of three smaller pieces, with components for assembling the weapons and scenic base on the left, mostly legs in the centre, and the body on the right. These all seem to be laid out very nice and simple so far, with a logical pattern to follow along with, and not having to go between sprues to assemble units. Let's see if this trend continues. With that first layer out of the way, we still can't see through to the bottom of the box yet. Pulling out the first of these, and it's the new and improved Termagant sculpts. Easy fit again, and it seems that these are in 4 parts, with 2 halves of the body, a flesh borer arm, and then the support arm. As is typical with Termagant sprues, we have a few rippers included here, which will be enough to field 2 bases, which is a bit unfortunate, as it seems to require 3 to form a unit. So we have another of these long Termagant sprues next, and it's identical to the previous one, so enough there to make our 20 Termagants in total. Next up, and it's the infantry for the Astartes. The Primaris Marines equipped with those Xeno-smelting incinerators. Can see some customization options with this one along the top there, with a bare head, pistol and combat knife for the Sergeant. We have a duplicate of this as well, so 5 Infernus Marines per sprue. Putting those aside, and the next one is this much smaller sprue containing the very long and intimidating claws of the Von Ryan's Leapers. All 3 of these look to be in one place, with plenty of extra talons and feeder tendrils to attach to the main bodies. And another small sprue here containing the Librarian and Terminator armour. Getting up close to this, and there is so much attention to detail with cryptic etchings all over the armour, as well as symbols carved into the book and force axe. Does look like something may have popped off this one in the lower left corner there, so hopefully we can track that down as we delve deeper into the Leviathan box. And that's another layer down with what looks like another 2 to go. I really have crammed a lot in here, and some very chunky armour at the top there looks like we might have reached our updated Terminator squad. We have indeed, with that trademark tactical Dreadnaught armour revamped for the new edition, and the enormous assault cannon there ready to hose down some nids. We can see the power sword for the Sergeant, as well as a single piece homing beacon, plus a healthy amount of Stormbolters and Power Fists to really bring the pain. Next up, and we have this interesting combo. There's the Tyranid Prime on one side with the leathery wings and that, I don't know if you'd call it a horn or a fin, but it looks mean. While on the other side is the Terminator Captain with a very large and detailed base featuring a crumpled Screamer Killer. There's loads of intricate accessories as well, and a large flowing cape to really demonstrate his status. We've got another blended sprue here with the Neurogaunts on it, and these seem to require minimal assembly as they are just in 2 pieces. On the other side, we have the Barbgaunts, with the main body being separate from the living weapon system and the hooved legs. We're down to the final layer and there's that missing piece from the Librarian, which must be a bolter clip. Anyway, we've got a lot of different models on this sprue, with those dripping knives and the carapace reinforced pauldron indicating that our Spec Ops Lieutenant is in the top left corner. The bulk of the sprue on the right, however, is dedicated to the Sternguard veterans, with all the combi weapons and loincloths as befits their status. In the lower left corner though, we can see the Sternguard heavy bolter, but most of this area is parts for assembling the Apothecary Biologis. Whew, that was a lot to get through. All in all, we have 13 sprues here, though most of them are split into 2 or 3 sections. While some of these contain other models, they are for the most part 1 per unit, which will hopefully make assembly as pain-free as possible. Though, word of warning, if you didn't have a pile of shame, you'll instantly get one with Leviathan. If we bring the box back over now, we're left with another insert, this time just with the Warhammer logo on display. Underneath, there's a bit of protective paper, which is a nice touch, and we now have access to the rulebook that comes with this set. There's a paper sleeve around this too, and they've really thought of everything, as even this is sealed shut with a bespoke sticker. Attached to the rulebook, we have this glossy paperstock booklet that feels like decent quality and contains all of the assembly instructions for the many included miniatures. Interspersed throughout are these full colour photos of what the completed unit should look like, as well as these index cards, which even highlight the weapons on the miniature as it informs you about the stats for them. About halfway through, we have the finished Marine army, and then we get the assembly instructions for the Tyranids. Very little customization options at a brief glance, but that's to be expected for such affordable miniatures that are principally monopose. Putting that aside, and now we can get into the much larger hardback Leviathan book here. We have that extreme close-up of a Terminator's head on the front again here, and you can see that it's a pretty hefty tome, clocking in at 392 pages. Most of the front section seems to be dedicated to lore, with material on the Dark Imperium, each of the factions to be found in 40k, and even a snippet on each of the combat patrols you can buy, such as this one here for the Thousand Suns. There's a black ribbon bookmark here too to help find your place, which is a nice addition. Then we get into the core rules, which are the same as the ones freely available for download from the Warhammer community site. Next up, we have some info on the Tyranid War before it gets into how to run a crusade in 10th edition, and then the specifics for the Tyranid campaign itself. This is a fabulous quality book with a solid hardback cover, gorgeous artwork and photography throughout, thick glossy pages and plenty of information to bring us all up to date to the ongoing conflicts in the 41st millennium. Tucked away beneath the book is the Space Marine transfer sheet with plenty of badges for 5 of the first founding loyalists, and more than enough Gothic script numbers and Roman numerals to customise your Astartes. One last insert is the Battle for Oghram campaign, where you can log your battle reports and possibly win yourself some free minis or new reveals. I don't think I've seen this before in a Games Workshop box, but there's a cardboard frame here that's keeping the bases and card deck separate from the rest. As to be expected, there's a massive amount of bases here, ranging from 25mm to 50mm to suit all sizes of minis. Set aside from these are the extra large bases for the Tyranid monsters too. And finally, we have this pretty chunky box of cards wrapped in cellophane. Tearing this away, and the box itself is solid and should hold up pretty well over several games and keep the contents from being lost or damaged. There's loads of cards inside here, and these are thick, glossy stock that should last well too. On the back we have some cool designs which also differentiate the type of card, such as a gambit card, a mission rule, a secondary mission for a defender, and so on. These chapter approved cards should provide us with a lot of replayability from this box alone, and there's even a fold out insert in the back describing how to play a game using the cards. And as an added bonus, the good folks at Games Workshop have provided us with 6 thick card objective markers too. How very considerate. And there we have it, a staggering amount of miniatures as well as a beautiful hardback rulebook and deck of chapter approved cards to introduce us all to the new edition of Warhammer 40,000. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking it, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the bell to be notified of new videos being released. Overall, I have nothing but praise for the Leviathan box. It gives us 2 incursion-sized armies of fantastic miniatures for a ridiculously reasonable price tag. That alone would be enough, but then it provides so much more on top of this. The book is thorough and actually includes an index so that you can find specific rules at a glance. The mission cards are well presented, and even the assembly instructions are of decent quality. You can really see the attention to detail in every part of Leviathan that makes it a good product. The box itself is thick and robust for continued use. There's inserts to protect each layer from damage, and then just little things like having a container to keep the chapter-approved cards in is just great to see. Sure, it doesn't provide everything that a new player to the game needs, but then I guess that's not the purpose of this set. Rather, it's geared towards introducing existing players to the new miniatures and rules. I'm sure that in coming weeks or months, Games Workshop will release 3 tiers of different price box sets to get new players into the game and provide them with a much more streamlined approach, as well as the necessary dice, terrain and accessories. For now though, the only question that remains is how on earth do I get all of this back into that box? There'll be more Warhammer 40k videos being released in the near future, so please do keep an eye out for new content coming soon to JamHammer. In the meantime, there are plenty of other videos available on the channel, including a few that are on screen now for you to click on. Thanks again for watching.